on the TV side, you always see this man, former player and current analyst on Bally, Steve Buechele. And I'm going to start off with this, and I think this will really impress RJ. Tolo Gabe just sent me this. Boo was a neighbor of mine for years. His yard is immaculate. He works on the details himself as well. Steve Buechele, is that true?
Not due to me, but yes. I mean, we all our free time, my wife and I love being in the yard. I don't know if immaculate is the correct word, but we enjoy being out in the yard.
All right, Chop, we have finally found someone you can speak yard terms with. Throw it at him. Let's see if he knows.
Do you use like a real mower or like do you have like a regular old-fashioned, circular blade?
No, I'd use you just call it a reel mower?
Yeah, like the ones that kind of like the ones you use on a golf course.
No, just a regular push mower.
Yeah, very low though. You keep it very, very low.
No, I don't keep it as low as I should. My son now uses that old like little rotating blade mower.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his yard looks like a fairway. It's ridiculous.
Oh, he must thatch. I need to de-thatch my yard more.
Thatch?
Yeah, you gotta get underneath. You can do a rake, or they have like a machine that'll do it
What type
too.
of grass we working with there?
Just Bermuda.
Okay.
We got zoysia. We have zoysia in the backyard, Bermuda in the front.
I need zoysia on my side, and I get too much shade.
What does that mean?
It's just a grass. Zoysia needs less sunlight. Like Bermuda needs a lot of sun. Have you ever noticed, like, between houses, you get no grass?
Screw the yard. Screw the yard. What I've always wanted to ask you, are you really that close to Bascik, and why?
Yeah, we're about 3 feet apart on a lot of
Well done. Well done.
Yeah, no, I mean, we have fun. Bass is fun. I enjoy listening to him on the radio. That's when he'll say some stupid stuff. and then once he does the analyst, when we're on Bally, I mean, he's got pretty good insight, and he's so knowledgeable in all sports. But we have a good time together.
How often is he watching a Maverick game while you're supposed to be watching a baseball game?
I'm not going to lie. He'll talk NBA right in the middle of the summer. There's no doubt about it. He'll check out the Mavs and what's happening.
Steve Buechele joining us here on 105.3 The Fan. What do you think, if anything, we should take from this series? Were you looking at this as kind of a measuring stick or a litmus test for the Rangers, Steve?
No, maybe in a little ways, but not really. I mean, I think there's still pretty close to 100 games left. I think the fact that they went in there and took a game in Tampa, which is a really hard place to play, and they're a really good team. I think that if a team would have swept that series, I think they could have put a notch on their belt and felt pretty good about it. But I think they move forward. This series coming up against the Angels, I think, is a little bit more significant than that Tampa series.
So, did you come away thinking that Tampa's the best team in the league at this point, or did you already think they were to begin with?
No, I kind of thought they were to begin with, and I think you come away from the weekend thinking that those were the two best teams in baseball going at it. And right now, I don't think anybody can say that Tampa Bay is not the best baseball team. Why
do you think the Angels series could be just as, if not more important?
This is a division rival, and it's a 4-game series. So, this is where you can create separation, or a team can get a little bit closer. So anytime you're playing a division team and you're playing them 2 series less. You're only playing them 4 series during the year. So these are games you need to take advantage of. And when you're, Ranger-wise, this is a chance to just create a little bit more separation. Anaheim's hanging around. I'm not sure. I think they're 6.5 games back. It'd be nice to end this series with them back 7.5 or 8.5 versus them being, 5.5 or 4.5 back. So I think you can, like I said, this is where you can get a little separation.
Steve Buechele joined us here on 105 through The Fan. Do you think a frontline starter is something they absolutely need if they want to advance to where they want to be?
At this time of the season, I mean, it's kind of fun to think about what the Rangers need, and what the Rangers need is also what probably another dozen teams need out there. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be competition. Could they use a frontline starter? Could they add depth? Yeah, for sure. Could they add a piece in the bullpen? Yeah, I think so. I think everybody understands that. But right now the market is pretty slow. It's not going to heat up for a while. And there's going to be competition for these guys that people want. Just because you hear the names, Shane Bieber out there, the dude in Chicago, just because you hear those names, it doesn't mean you're going to be able to come away with these guys, because there's other teams out there vying for them.
Steve, do you think the question about going for, you mentioned there, the frontline starter versus the bullpen help or whatever else, I remember back in 2010 when they made the move for Cliff Lee, leading up to it, there was a lot of discussion about how much do you want to sacrifice your future for a young team with what looks like a few years of contending ahead of them just to make a deal right now. Do you think that is the question essentially in front of them, is like, hey, let's not sacrifice stuff too early in what we expect to be a 3 or 4 year run just for this year. Let's instead focus on solidifying the bullpen, and that'll cover over enough issues that we can get away with without having to go and get an ace.
Yeah, I mean, you weigh that, right? Depending on how deep your farm system is. In 2010, they had the pieces. You can think about 2015 when they got Cole Hamels and Jake Beekman and Sam Dyson, and the amount of talent that was traded during that time. But you had a chance to win, and we made the playoffs in 15 and 16. The same goes back in 2010 and 11. Winning's hard, and when you feel like you have the chance to win and you have those pieces to go get other ones that will help you have a chance to win and move on in the playoffs, I think that's when you take the chance and you go get it. The Rangers are in a great position now. They have a minor league system that's loaded with some young talent. But again, so do the Dodgers, so does Tampa. There's a lot of teams that are in the same situation, so there'll be a lot of competition.
Last 5 appearances in 7 innings, 0 runs, 4 hits for Jose Leclerc. Has he turned a corner?
I think so. Without a doubt. I mean, I think he's starting to understand. I don't know what the talks have been with him, if there was anything mechanical, but when you watch him pitch now, he's using his fastball a whole heck of a lot more, and he's using his slider. I think these last 7 innings, the scoreless streak that he's been on, and especially yesterday in the Tampa game, I think he went 2 2/3. You saw him use his fastball, and I think he's starting to understand that his fastball is good when he locates it, and his slider is good, and then he can put hitters away with that changeup. He just doesn't have to rely on that changeup over and over. And when you fall behind, I think he had the feeling that I can't throw my fastball in this situation. They're sitting on it. But these 7 innings that he's gone through, the scoreless streak, I think his fastball is showing up, and I think that's going to pay off for him the rest of the year.
Steve, one of the things Bascik has said recently that we've all been kind of kicking around over the last week is Mike had said he thinks this is the best offensive Rangers team he's ever seen. When you think back over some of the offenses that they've had, it was always considered pitching was more the issue for them in the years where they struggled, that they always had the offensive firepower. Does this team stack up to you as one of the best offensive groups they've ever had?
I think so. You could probably go back to 2010 and 11. Those were very good offensive teams. But I think from top to bottom, this is the best Ranger offense that I've ever seen. Not just 1 through 9. They got guys that can come off the bench that are good players on the field and that can swing the bat. So I would agree with Mike. This is probably one of the best, if not the best, offense the Rangers have ever had.
As a former front office executive, your thoughts on the job that Chris Young has done?
Well, I mean, credit Chris Young. First of all, credit Ray Davis for allowing him to do what he's done. But I think CY's just done an incredible job. Number one, starting off with pulling Bochy out of retirement. I think that's where it all started. He had a vision. Bochy believed in that vision, and Ray Davis and Neil, those guys gave him the okay. They opened up the pocketbooks, but CY went out and did exactly what the Rangers needed him to do. Get a ton of depth from the pitching side, to add to Seager and Simeon that they got a couple of years ago. So CY deserves a ton of credit. And knowing him, it's not over. I think he sniffs the playoffs right now. I think he can smell the winning, and I think that drives him. So I think come trade deadline, or come this summer, it's going to be exciting to see what he does.
We're obviously giving a ton of credit to Chris Young, but should there be, and I understand there was a lot of frustration with how long it took to get into this rebuild, but should there be a little bit more credit for people when they look back and say, hey, Jon Daniels, it turned out, did contribute some worthy things to this rebuild, whether it's Adolis Garcia or making the move for Dane Dunning or whatever else. Do you think he's getting enough credit or should get more credit for this turnaround?
Well, I think he's, I think those 6 years, I think it was really frustrating for Ranger fans, and they took it out on JD. That JD did a lot of good things. I mean, you can go back to those World Series teams, and then the 15 and 16, the playoff teams there. Those were all under JD. He made some big moves. He did a lot of things good for this organization. But after 2016. It was just, it was a pretty solemn time around here, baseball-wise, for Ranger fans. And he had a great run, and he did a lot of great things. And now it's CY's turn.
Steve Buechele here on the home of the Rangers, 105 through the Fan. Who controlled the college remote between you and Elway?
I don't even know if we had a TV now that I'm thinking about it. To be honest with you, I don't even remember having a TV, but I controlled the stereo. I know that.
Can you educate these morons that I work with, disrespecting the greatness of John Elway? Best arm you've ever seen in any sport? Is it belong to him or someone else?
Football-wise, probably John, I would say. People say that Justin Herbert, it comes out of his hand pretty good too. But, I mean, back in the day when John was in college, there was nobody like him. And his time in the NFL, I think you could probably say arm strength-wise and arm talent-wise that he was certainly the best.
What do you think his ceiling would have been as a baseball player?
I think he could have been an all-star, to be honest with you. He was a left-handed hitter, which a lot of people probably wouldn't realize.
Oh.
He had a great arm, obviously, but the right field or third base, I think, would have been his position. He could hit. He was a power hitter. I think had he gone the baseball route, he could have been an all-star.
Steve Buechele, right here on your home of the Rangers, with lawn advice, with pitching advice, front office advice. You got any final questions, Choppy?
Yeah, I got one dead spot in my yard. It will not grow. I think my area was the neighborhood washout yard when the house was built. There's like cement underneath it. I can't get grass to grow. I need a tip.
Oh, you know what? Just scrape it out, put a little topsoil underneath there, and then just match the sod up with what you got around there. Water twice a day, you'll be good to go.
All right, very good.
Done.
Thank you.
Well done. Steve Buechele puts up with Bascik on a weekly basis, just like we do on your home for Rangers baseball. Keep up the great work, man. Thank you for the time this morning.
All right, guys. Have a good day.